All right, I'm here with Kirby Ferguson. I'm really excited to talk to you, Kirby. Everything is a remix. I love the series. My daughter turned me on to it, and I got to tell you, my students love it. It's just brilliant. And so I was
Awesome.
very excited when you said you could take a few minutes to talk
Thank
to
you
me
very
about it.
much. That's really cool that your students are getting something out of it.
So everything is a remix, right? So I'd like to just hear from you from the outset. What was the genesis? Like, what were the influences that inspired you to create the series?
I think it came about. I think it started when it was just a really strange time in copyright law a few years ago, maybe even more than that, because the idea started brewing,
Yep.
a couple of years before I actually put the thing out. I think so. There's just a lot of crazy copyright cases going on, a lot of lawsuits that I thought were a bit loony. Um, And I just started to wonder, why people suddenly now think that they can sue over, ownership of kind of basic ideas that seem like, lots of people are doing them, but why do certain people think that, like, this is mine now? Like,
Yep.
I own whatever, that sound or that, you know, wizards or whatever. Like, there was a Harry Potter lawsuit that was really far-fetched. So there were just all these kind of zany lawsuits going on. And, I thought I could illustrate how it's hypocritical to think that you own these things and can litigate about it because, the fact is that it can be easily illustrated in lots of cases that,
Right.
things that we think are somebody's really, there's a chain of stuff that came before that. So I just thought it was an idea that seemed to be getting, it was a behavior that seemed to be getting prevalent, people kind of wanting to lock down
Hmm.
clamps onto things that they think are theirs, and I just want to show that there is no yours in this stuff, not completely anyway. Like
Yep.
there's a lot of stuff that came before you that let you do what you were doing.
Hmm.
So that was the beginning of it.
Hey, maybe there's a future for you as an expert witness in all these litigation cases.
Yeah.
No,
Dear
do you
God,
think
I hope
that?
not.
Yeah, exactly. That would be hell. Do you think that was sort of Napster backlash? Do you think it was sort of post Napster and people with digital assets just sort of overreacted?
um, Partially, yeah, I think so. Yeah, like a lot of what these new laws are about is technology. They're trying to clamp down
Yep.
on piracy, but sometimes they're also trying to take more. They're trying to put themselves in a better position than they were to begin with. They're
Sure.
trying to take more than they ever had to start. So yeah, definitely that's partially what it is about for sure.
Do and I know with the video being distributed everywhere, it used to be you could go to YouTube and get a good estimate of how many views a video had. And
Yeah.
do you have any idea how many views you've gotten just in general? And I'm more interested in not that number as much as how does that fit with your original expectation when you first put it out there?
Right. I have a rough idea. Yeah. I mean, I don't track every little thing. Like you
Sure.
can actually download the videos, and I don't track that. But they are all heading towards about 1 million views each. So each of my videos have about they have 3 million total roughly, and they keep going. And then a friend of mine made a couple of like supplement videos about particular films. So there was one about Kill Bill and there was one about The Matrix. Those have gotten, first one got about 1 million. Second one is well on its way to that. So we're looking at about 5 million total for all of them.
Wow, that's awesome. And those are awesome videos too. The three core videos you did are incredible, and I did watch the supplements as well. Just and I'm not even a
Cool.
particular fan of Kill Bill, but I don't think you have to be
Yeah,
a
sure.
fan of the movie to really, be intrigued by the work you've done.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So if I there's a lesson that I really like, that came out of for me comes out of your series. But I'm wondering, is there one particular lesson that you would like the majority of the viewers to sort of walk away with when they're done watching it?
Yes, I mean, I guess just the idea that, creativity isn't magic is a pretty central one. That, it's not just about having some sort of mystical talent that comes from who knows where.
Yeah.
Uh, the basics are the copying and the combining and the transforming. Like those are the basic elements of doing creative work.
Yep.
And the way that you do, seemingly original stuff is just to kind of keep at it. You keep building on those combinations and those transformations, and over time it turns into something where it can be difficult for us to tell where it came from, but everything kind of emerges out of what we already know, out of the ideas we already have. So I guess just the idea that it's an encouragement to create stuff, really. I think.
Yep.
Even though your early results will be primitive, and you got to keep at it. That is kind of the main point, even above the. There is a copyright and patent message. There's an intellectual property message that emerges in the fourth one.
Right.
But I think if you understand the first idea, then that idea kind of goes along with it. So I think just the idea that, we are all building on other people's ideas. It's none of the stuff belongs to us exclusively. And, you can get in there and start playing with the stuff and create not necessarily genius work or anything. If you keep at it long enough, you can. But you can do worthwhile things if you just get in there and start doing it.
Good. Well, that is the central message that I took away. I thought maybe yours might be different just because I work with so many students. I teach at UCSB, and what I liked was saying it in my words is that you sort of make it okay to copy. You sort of say, look, that's okay because it's a natural part of the process, whereas I think a lot of young people feel like they want to be that expert, tomorrow. There's an Ira Glass quote, which I'm sure it's a derivative of someone else's words. I sent it out a while ago. It sort of got in a Twitter flurry. A bunch of people retweeted it, which showed me that, it's a powerful message. And it's a great quote. He just basically says, look, usually when you do something, for the first time and when you're young, it sucks. And the difference between people that become really, really good and become proficient and experts is they're willing to work through that period of it sucks. And the people that give up don't. They never become the expert. They want to be the expert right away. They aren't, and then they bail. And I like that. That's another theme of what you bring to young people. So excellent. And so I know you're doing a lot of speaking. I know you were. I just saw on your site Google and some corporate stuff, which I'm sure is fun. Given that most of the questions from the audience are probably a remix, like I imagine you hear the same questions. Have you? So I'm just wondering, are there any that have stood out and made you sort of go, "Wow, that's interesting," or anything that made you sort of look at your work in a new light?
There's certainly plenty of interesting stuff that's come up. Like particular examples will come up about specific cases.
Yep.
And I've definitely been. This happens more online, but when there are areas of the video that are either not phrased completely clearly. There's a case of that in the second episode. There's something that I didn't phrase quite right and was a bit misleading. And there was actually a factual error at the end of the first one where I say Led Zeppelin never actually sued anybody about people sampling them, and that turned out to just not be true. I had that wrong altogether.
Okay.
So I've certainly found out lots of specific stuff, sort of, but outside of that, nothing that's really shifted my overall vision. I think because the overall vision is it's not mind-blowing stuff. I don't think really. It's pretty obvious point. I think like that everything is remixed and that we're using that you have to be connected to other works to be able to make your own work. I think that's pretty, it's an idea that, it's common. It's out there. It's been out there a long time. I think more what I do that's interesting is I illustrate it and tell stories about it in a way that is interesting. But the basic premise, I think, is pretty basic. And, I don't think there's much to. I don't think it's that controversial. I don't think there's really another way of looking at it. The only other way to looking at creativity is that it kind of is back to this. It comes from nowhere. It's a magic kind of idea.
Yeah, right.
Which is obviously funny. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like most really interesting ideas, it is obvious. But if you just stood on a street corner and sort of said, "Hey, everything's a remix," I mean, that's not very intriguing. But as you say, you've really crafted stories, and with your talent as a filmmaker, you're able to make it very engaging. So you certainly have done a great job with that. I want to share one thing with you. You've probably heard this from other people. So when I first watched the videos, and I watched them several times. I really liked the narration. I was like, wow, whoever's narrating this is awesome. And then I guess I had never gone to the end because, at the end of them, you sort of give a little, hey, it's Kirby. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's the narrator is actually the filmmaker. So was that because you didn't have the money, or did you say, no, I want to be the voice of these films?
Yeah, it was it was the first thing you said. It was a non-choice
Yep.
choice. Like I was doing when I started the series, I was working full time. So I thought, because I didn't have to shoot footage, I didn't have to, get cast members and book interviews or whatever,
Yep.
get cameraman and crew and all that crap. I thought that, oh, this will be easy. I can just kind of do this on the side, and I'll have my full-time job, and this will kind of be my fun side project. But of course, it turned out to be, hugely time-consuming just because of the research
Right.
and also just, combing through the media and stuff and figuring out how things fit together and stuff it's crazy time consuming. It's just as bad as shooting stuff. So the voiceover thing was just was another way to keep it simple, to keep it self-contained, so that I didn't have to either pay for help or just get help to do it. So it's nice that you thought it was well done. I didn't think one way or the other. After the first one, I started to get a little more serious about how I was performing it.
Yep.
First one, I just kind of knocked it out. I didn't think too much about it.
Yep.
But I paid attention to that performance element as it's gone along, and I think it's improved.
Well, it's good. I mean, I didn't really notice, to your credit, I didn't notice a big uptick in performance from the first to the second to the third. I thought they were all solid. Right. And you just have a very,
awesome.
of just a very mellow, intimate way of bringing it across. So I just wanted to share that with you because I thought that was pretty cool.
That's very nice.
I'm wondering again, with the students I'm interacting with all the time, a lot of them, I teach entrepreneurship, and a lot of them are musicians, or they want to be an actor, or they're writers. So there's a lot of digital arts folks that I work with. They're all rich with ideas, like they got a gazillion ideas, but they're not usually rich with respect to a bank account. And I would wonder, do you have any points of wisdom that you could share with them when they've got the energy but they don't have the money?
Right. Well, I mean, I guess the first thing I would say is especially when you're young, is don't be afraid to just sort of do what other people are doing and put your own little twist on it, like don't be afraid to do genre type stuff, so don't feel like you have to reinvent the wheel all the time. Like you can just, be a whatever kind of band and just, put your own little spin on it and take it from there. Like that's all there is to starting out, is just, trying to be confident, trying to communicate musically or in words or whatever, so don't be afraid to be derivative at first, for sure. And then other than that, I mean, it's really, did I just turn green on? Well,
are you a Martian?
Green for
Stop using video effects.
Yeah. Whoops. And other than that, it's just a matter of getting out there and doing it, like it's very inexpensive to find an audience nowadays. You don't need a lot. Like this series basically started with no money. I wasn't putting any money into it. I just put it out there.
Right.
It does take time to find an audience, so you have to keep at it for a really long time. I think it's a tortoise and the hare kind of thing. Like you don't want to throw a ton of energy at it. And then, lounge around after that. You want to just like keep chipping, keep at it for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely a great time to be, a creative person, in terms of reaching an audience, not in terms of making gobs of money at it necessarily, but just at reaching people and getting your stuff out there, which I think is really what traditionally it's been all about. Like we had a brief period where you could get financially loaded with this stuff, but for the most part, that's not been the reason people do this or the way it has actually panned out for people. So, don't be afraid to be mediocre at first, because you're going to be, whether you think you are or not. I think it's going to happen, unless you're just lucky. And keep at it. And money is not really much of an obstacle. It's not going to. You shouldn't think that, I'm green again.
Thank you,
it's
Skype.
It's not going to, it can be a distraction, the money thing. Like it's not going to suddenly make you better in a way that your audience is really going to care about.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's my long-winded advice.
No, it's good. And I think even in the golden times, if there ever were such a
Yeah.
time for performers, most of them didn't make any money. I mean, you've got the obvious examples, but, exceptions, excuse me. And then again, with everybody, sucking at the beginning, I've heard Beatles, bootlegs, in 1958 when they sucked.
Oh
but,
yeah.
but,
I mean,
they,
if you listen to, you can even hear it in people who are developed talents. And the secret ingredient is that they kept at it. Like there's this Beatles anthology series. Speaking of the Beatles, if you listen to like the raw, or if you watch the film Let It Be, when you hear them just like starting these songs, I mean, they're just the roughest. They don't sound like anything. Like they do not sound like classics. They do not sound like hit songs. They're just these rough, sketchy little things. But it's because they spend that time refining it that it gets to be, great work.
Yep, it's taking that time to polish it, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
You don't just hit the rock and a diamond pops out.
Yeah.
So I know you've done some work for CNN lately. Is that the future for Kirby? Are you going to do more commercial work there?
Yep. Yeah, it's not my focus, but certainly, yeah, I will probably do more stuff for CNN.com, not for the network. I mean, some stuff might end up on the network, but mostly it's on CNN.com, and I think it also plays on there. They have an international station.
Oh, cool.
That I quite like, and I think it plays on there. But so that will be, I'll be doing freelance work like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing coming after this is actually a political series. It's going to be about the 2012 election.
Oh.
Loosely, it'll be, I'll use that as a springboard
right.
to, tell some stories about history and human psychology and how our political system works the way it does, and just kind of help people make sense of this crazy political climate that we're in right now. So I'm really looking forward to getting into that.
Yeah, so am I. I'm looking forward to part 4, which you gave us a little sneak peek of, a little bit of ID. Yep. And I'm looking forward to your political series. So I know that you're looking for donations. You've been doing this really just off sweat equity. How can folks, readers of my blog, help you? What's the right way to get some cash to you?
You can go to everythingisremixed.info, and you can either donate. There's a donate button at the top, or you can buy something. You can go to the store there and buy a T-shirt or a poster.
Okay, great. Well, Kirby, thanks again. I truly am looking forward to your work. Thank you for inspiring me and my students. Thanks again for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.